You've got questions and I've got the answers. Now this video is about the top 5 questions you should be asking yourself before making the move to Los Angeles. Now of course when you're making that move there's lots of things to think over, and plenty of our clients before relocating to Los Angeles have asked themselves these very same questions. In fact, these are where I got this list from to create this video, asking people and polling people what were some of the top questions that they were considering before making the move to LA. Because it is a big decision to make. LA is a big spot, it's a big move, lots of things happening here, so stay tuned for this video for the top 5 questions you need to be asking before making the move here to LA. All right, let's just jump right into the list here. Now, are you someone that likes to look up at the night sky and see a beautiful starry night? You see the constellations, maybe even the Milky Way itself? Or are you someone that likes to fall asleep in silence? Well, these are some sub-questions to the bigger question. Number 1 is, can you handle the big city life? Are you ready for big city living? The reason why you should be asking yourself that is, city of Los Angeles is really unlike any other city in the country. It is a big city geographically. There's lots of people here. And if you're not used to something like that, it can be quite the adjustment. It can be quite overwhelming. Now, for someone that was born and raised in Los Angeles like myself, I got used to the way the city of LA worked. And as I mentioned in my other videos, I got really comfortable in my neighborhood. My neighborhood became my life, but I never really became completely connected to all of Los Angeles because it is so big. Now, don't get me wrong, I've traveled to and been to and explored and experienced many parts of Los Angeles. And it is really cool to do, and it's a really cool part of being in a big city like LA is that there's so much to do, so much to explore. It's almost endless, really. But at some point, it becomes really hard to get to because of all the traffic and congestion and how long it takes to get to places that I didn't really feel that connection to the city of LA itself. I actually felt more connected to the neighborhoods that I was living in, neighborhood I grew up in, and that's just a lot of what kind of LA is. But again, because LA is so big, when you move here, or even if you just travel here, you maybe kind of have this feeling of like, well, I don't know where to go. There's so many places to go, so many places to see. And that's where when you get here, you're really gonna have to figure out what speaks to you, what neighborhoods speak to you, and where you feel most comfortable, where you feel most welcome, because that ultimately will be the place that you choose to live and be ultimately the place where you spend most of your time. Big city life in Los Angeles, it's a mix of being kind of this casual laid back, but it's also a lot of hustle and go, and you can get caught up in all of that. And there are so many options here in LA, whether you're talking about career, you're talking about lifestyle, you're talking about entertainment, you're talking about religion, you're talking about culture. It's all here for you, and when it's all right there in front of your face, it could be a lot to take in all at once. So I recommend when you come here, just kind of absorb the different neighborhoods for what they are. Don't try to take all of Los Angeles all in at once. It's not going to be really possible to do. And you may feel a little lost. And I don't just mean geographically when you're driving. Of course, we all get lost when we're in new places. But just maybe a sense of loss or feeling less connected than you would hope so. And that's where, making friends, sticking with family when you first get here, kind of adapting and becoming part of their sphere may be very helpful when you move to a big city like Los Angeles. And if you are a person that likes to fall asleep in silence, you're really going to have to really dig hard and find the right neighborhoods, which I can help you with, because there are sirens going on, there's cars honking, there's helicopters flying over, there's airplanes flying. It's kind of hard to find complete silence unless you're really up in the hills, which can be quite expensive. Or along the coastline, which again be quite expensive. And if you are someone who loves that night sky, well, you're really not going to find it because we have so much light coming in during the evening. We got a lot of light pollution that you're just not going to find that. So you can find it in some of the cool nature areas and the hiking trails that we have here, and some of the campsites that are not too far away, but in your day-to-day life, that's something you may have to give up when moving to a big city. As a reminder, I'm Dave Fine with the Real Estate Dads right here in Los Angeles, and I love helping people relocate and move to the great city of LA. So if you are thinking about making that move, make sure you do reach out to us. Phone call, text, email, whatever's easier for you. And I love making these videos as well, helping people make the decision to move to LA, giving them a little bit of insight. So subscribe, tap the bell to get notified, hit the like button if you like what you see, comment below. I always love to hear from people. All right, the second question you should be asking yourself is, are you ready to pay more? Pretty much in all aspects of life. You you've got to be ready to pay more when living in the city of Los Angeles, because it is just more expensive in pretty much everything you do, from housing to going out to getting groceries to daycare. It's all more expensive than where you are living, most likely, unless you're coming from New York, or San Francisco, which is a whole different story because we're not quite as expensive at those places. But let's talk about cost of living in Los Angeles. I'm not going to go in complete detail of the cost of living in Los Angeles. For that, make sure you hit up my cost of living in LA video that you can find right here in my channel. But when it comes to cost of living, we are going to reference a site called bestplaces.com, and they use a scale or a rank of 100 when comparing cities in the United States, and Los Angeles has a rating of 176. Yep, 176 compared to 100. So right off the bat, overall, you can see it's a very expensive place to live. Now, I don't have all these numbers memorized, so I'm going to be looking down at my list here as I go over some of these, because I want to make sure I get you some of the accurate numbers. Now, when it comes to groceries, we rank as a 104, so not terribly higher than the average, but higher. And when it comes to healthcare, that's actually where we rank lower. It's one of the few spots that Los Angeles ranks lower, and that's probably because of the amount of options that we have in Los Angeles. We're actually a 90 out of 100 when it comes to healthcare. And the other item where we're going to be coming in lower than the national average in the US would be utilities. We're at a 92 compared to 100, and that's because, well, we probably don't use as much utilities here in general because our weather is so great. Now, where it gets ridiculous is housing. We are at a 304. Remember, we're talking about 100 being the national average. We're at 304. So one of the most key parts of living, needing a roof over your head, LA is really expensive. So we're going to go over some more details now in the actual numbers on the average prices in Los Angeles. Now, we just ended off with housing. The median house in Los Angeles is around $900,000. That's the median price. Now, that's going to get you probably a place in either in the San Fernando Valley, not all parts, just certain parts of the San Fernando Valley, certain parts of eastern LA. But if you're talking about West Side or Coastal, there's no way you're touching property for under 1.3 million, and that's going to get you probably a fixer. So it does range, 900 being the median, but if the reality is you're going to be spending considerable more to get yourself a house that's ready to move in. Now, if you're talking about renting a place, we still are really expensive. For a one-bedroom apartment, you're talking about $2,100. And if you're talking about a three-bedroom place, it's at $3,500. Now, these are apartments, and so you can see how expensive they are. Now, if you're talking about a single-family home, you're talking closer to $5,000 for a three-bedroom, two-bath home. That's maybe, 1,400 square feet. So smaller home. And again, this isn't getting you something really nice in the hills or along the coast. This is something a little bit more inland and smaller. Now let's talk about utilities. That I can speak to you from experience. When my bills, when we have LA, I belong to LADWP Utilities, which is the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. So this includes my water, electricity, trash, and sewer. And it was about an average of $526 every 2 months. Now, my gas bill was an average of $50 per month. So not terribly high when compared to other parts of the country. As I mentioned, that ranked a little bit lower than the national average, but still pretty expensive. Now, another place where we rank pretty high is the price of gasoline. And because we are such a heavy car culture, you're going to be using your car a lot. Right now, we're at about $5 per gallon. I remember that about a year ago, we were up to 6 and change, almost 7 at points. But we're about $5 a gallon, and that'll depend on which neighborhood you're in. If you're in a more affluent or a higher cost of living neighborhood like Beverly Hills, you're going to be paying more. That's just the way it is, but on average, about $5 per gallon. Now, I'm going to look at my list here. If you're talking about auto insurance, it's about $2,000, which is about $600 more compared to the U.S. average. For taxes, the sales tax here is 9.5%. Which is quite high. So anytime you buy something, you're going to tack on 9.5%. If you're buying something large like a car, that could add up pretty quickly. Now, for childcare, they say the average is about $1,400 a month. Now, for my personal experience, I was actually paying closer to $2,000 per month. This will, again, depending on what type of childcare, daycare, or where you are going to daycare. That'll determine your price as well. But again, I was paying about $2,000 a month. For a dozen eggs, we've about $5.50 for non-organic eggs. It's going to be more expensive. We went on this egg shortage where it's paying close to like $7 for organic eggs. I know I probably didn't have to go that route, but that's what it was. For a combo meal, if you're into fast food, it's about $11 a meal. I remember growing up, that wasn't even close to a combo meal. But yeah, it's $11 if you want to go to McDonald's or Burger King or whatever your favorite fast food place is. And for dinner for two, this is from experience, about $50. That's not really including drinks. And if you're going out with a family of four, you're about $80 or so. Kids' meals run a little bit cheaper than us grown-up size meals. And for movies for two, about $32 for the two of you. Of course, that includes just the tickets, not the price of concessions. And of course, you have a family of four, it's going to be more expensive than that. Now, so those are just some of the numbers. Again, if you want more detail, make sure you go to my cost of living video specific to that topic. We are really expensive here, so just make sure you understand it's going to be a lot more costly to live here. Now, we're not as expensive as New York, but we're up there. All right, question number 3 is you've got to ask yourself, are you a coast person, a suburb person, or a city person? Because yes, you can have it all when you live in Los Angeles. You could be a beach bum, a city dweller, or and a suburbanite all in one day. You can experience all of that because we have it all. Just like I say, you can experience going from the beach all the way to skiing in one day. You can experience what it's like to be on the coast, to hang out in the city, and retire to the suburbs all in one day as well. But with all that action packed in LA, you kind of have to figure out where you're going to hang your hat, where you're going to call home. And that's going to be based on the type of lifestyle you enjoy and, frankly, what you can afford. Because as much as people like the coast, you've got to be able to afford to live on the coast because it is a lot more expensive to live there. But if you could have your choice and have your pick, you've got to figure out what type of lifestyle is best for you. Now, I mentioned you can experience it all, but where do you want to live? Do you want to live along the coast? That may sound ideal for a lot of people, but again, it comes with a high cost. There's a lot of tourism there with people coming into the city from all over the place to come visit that. So you're going to have that pretty high congestion, and you're going to be away from the city life, and it's going to take you a long time to get there if that's what you want to do for entertainment when you live on the coast. Now, if you're someone who likes the city life, then you may not want to pay the prices of living on the coast. It may save you a little bit of money, and you can live more in the downtown area or eastern portions of Los Angeles, where you can feel a little bit more connected to people that enjoy more of that city lifestyle. And if you're more of the person that wants to be away from it all and just go to the coast or go to the city, well, then you want to choose the suburbs. And one of the biggest swath of suburban regions we have is the San Fernando Valley, the northern part of Los Angeles, where you can kind of escape from it all and just have rows and rows and rows of housing. You've got a few indoor malls that's still very popular in the San Fernando Valley, and just live that suburban life. It's a little bit more quieter, less hectic, less congested. It really depends on what suits you. So when you move to LA, you've kind of ask yourself what type of lifestyle you want. And you can find what people call like the suburbs in the West LA coastal areas, but it really isn't because you're still in the thick of it. You're still right in the heart of traffic. And if you want to go anywhere, it's going to take forever to get to. So depending on your lifestyle and what you want, you got to ask yourself, do you want to be on the coast, suburbs, or the city? All right, the next question you've got to ask yourself is, are you someone that likes seasons? Because, spoiler alert, if you do, then LA is not the place for you. Los Angeles, there really aren't any seasons. Yes, on the calendar, and we all know when it's spring, summer, fall, and winter, but the reality is the weather's pretty much the same throughout the year. I know, yes, we get our rain seasons. Yes, we get our June gloom during June. But in general, if you're someone that really enjoys the changing of the colors in fall, or if you like the spring showers, or you like sipping some hot cocoa by a fireplace indoors, then LA might not be the right spot for you. And trust me, there's a lot of people that like that need that to make them feel like they're being kind of ushered along the year. Because when you live in Los Angeles, you really can't tell what season or what time of year it is. And it is an odd feeling because, you can see your friends and family shivering when it's, February, March, but in Los Angeles, you may be enjoying a beach day. You just never know. So again, if you're someone that really likes that changing of the guard, changing of the seasons, and kind of understanding where you are throughout the year, then LA is not going to be a place for you. Now, the flip side of that, and what I really enjoy about Los Angeles is, well, you can be outdoors and pretty much do anything you want throughout the entire year and not get sidelined or sidetracked by a storm coming through, by a blizzard coming through, chipping ice off your car, shoveling snow off your driveway to go somewhere, throwing on a bunch of layers, and then shedding those layers when you get somewhere. That's the benefits of not having a season per se or seasons per se in Los Angeles. What you need to be prepared for when it comes to LA weather is the Santa Ana winds. Now, it's this wind phenomenon that comes through from October to March, roughly, and these winds can come in. They sit there. It's a warm, hot wind that's hitting you. It's probably a warm and sunny day, so it could be uncomfortable, especially if you're someone who has allergies. It just kicks up everything and really irritates those allergies. And you're talking about winds of 30 miles per hour. They last for a few days, sometimes up to 7 days, and gusts up to 60 miles per hour depending on where you are. And so that's something that you can be prepared for that pretty much comes with every year. I wouldn't call that a season, but something you should be aware of. We do get some beautiful, beautiful sunsets weather-wise that are incredible. Now, some of that has to do with some of the smog we have here, unfortunately. So when you see a really pretty sunset and you're looking at it, you try not to think of what's really causing that sunset. But again, someone who loves seasons, LA is not the spot for you. And if you can't live without that, then you should really question whether you can live in Los Angeles. But again, for me, I think it's a positive thing because of how much opportunity and how many things you can do throughout the year, given that we don't really have 4 seasons in Los Angeles. All right, the last question you should be asking yourself, and this is a big one, it's been on almost every one of my videos, and that is the traffic. Can you handle the traffic? This is something you should really ask yourself because it does affect your lifestyle. It can really affect kind of your soul, your being in many ways. I mean, there's a lot of angry drivers out there. There's a lot of people that are upset when they get to their destination. There's a lot of people that need to take a breath or almost take a minute to gather themselves after they just went through a strong, heavy commute in Los Angeles. The reason why this is such a big deal is because we don't have a big mass transportation system here. So you are going to be in your car, whether you're a passenger or a driver, you are going to be sitting in traffic. It is inevitable. You can't get away from it. We do not have rush hours. We have free hours between basically 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. Other than that, you're going to be sitting in traffic unless you're going, right in the middle of the night, around midnight or so. But it can be quite aggravating. Again, I'm got used to it. I'm not saying I enjoy it because I don't, but I found coping mechanisms. I just play music. I'll play podcasts. I'll catch up on phone calls for work. I'll even meditate while I'm sitting in traffic. Things I can do to kind of preoccupy my mind from thinking of how horrible it is to take an hour to go 14 miles. It is a big difference to be in your car for an hour going 14 miles versus going 50 miles and actually driving. And there's really no way around it because our freeways are going to be packed, our side roads are going to be packed, our main boulevards are going to be packed. Everyone's trying to find the secret sauce with Waze and Google Maps. There's no secret. You may save a few minutes off, but in general, it's a nightmare, and you just have to be prepared for that because you're going to be spending a long time, many hours of your week commuting, depending on where your job is. Hopefully, when you move here, you can live and work in somewhat of a very close proximity, or else you could be on the road 2 hours to work and an hour back, or 2 hours to work and 2 hours back. You don't know. Or if you have some family and friends you want to meet, sometimes people have canceled plans because of how much traffic there is. And if there's an accident or construction, forget it. Then it's over as far as sitting in your car. Or if you feel like making plans somewhere on the other side of the city, somewhere you want to explore, somewhere neat that you haven't tried yet, but then you consider how long it's going to take you to go, you may scrap those plans for something a little bit closer. So it is a big part of our lifestyle. And if you're not used to a big city, if you're coming from somewhere that's a population of a couple 100,000 people or smaller, or maybe just a better planned out city in general, just less people, less cars, better transportation in your city. When you get here, it doesn't matter how much you prepare yourself for, you really don't quite understand what traffic is until you come to Los Angeles and until you experience that 405-101 interchange or the 405-10 interchange, or if you're in downtown trying to connect to 5 or 7 different freeways to go somewhere. It's crazy. So be prepared. Hopefully it doesn't get to you too much, but that is something you should ask yourself if you're ready for that, because it does consume a big portion of your life sitting in traffic. So these are questions you should ask yourself. There's many other questions you can ask yourself, but those are some 5 big ones you may want to consider before making the move to Los Angeles. It's a lot of what people consider that our clients have talked about to us about before they made the move. It's questions that they've asked us personally about what our opinions and our experiences based on these 5 questions. So If you're thinking about making that move, as always, we love helping people move here. Make sure you hit us up with a call, a phone call, or I said phone call, didn't I? A phone call, text, or email. And if you like these videos and you want to keep seeing more, make sure you subscribe, tap the bell to get notified, and hit that like button if you like what you see. And of course, ask your questions below. Make your comments. I'm happy to respond and answer. And we'll see you on the next video.